Hey everybody, welcome back to the newly branded We Are Podcast, formerly Quack Attack 5000. Today's episode is We Are Bagu, Season 1, Episode 9, Is DLC Bad? Me and Dr. Ethan E, we're going to sit down and talk about some video game news before jumping into our thoughts on downloadable content and extensions for modern games. If this is your first time listening, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. Please head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give us a like. Also, you can find links to all of our social media in the description. With that, on to the podcast.
We Are Bagu.
Hey everybody, welcome to We Are Bagu. This is Duck. I'm here with...
Oh shit, you're here with Dr. E.
Dr. Ethan Eastwood, baby. And what is We Are Bagu? It is a video game podcast where we talk Atari to Steam and everything in between.
Everything in between.
Every little thing. It's me and Dr. Ethan E. We're going to talk a little bit about some video game news. And then Ethan has a subject that he's going to bring in. He's got the prescription.
It ain't more cowbell, but it's gonna fill out this cast, that's for sure.
It's going to be great. So I want to start, Ethan, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. What you got, Daco?
All right. So Nintendo secrets just leaked to the public. Here's what it means.
You wouldn't be talking about the Nintendo Wii and like all of the fucking source code for not only that console, but a whole bunch of other Nintendo shit, would you?
Yes, over 2 terabytes worth of data was leaked by a third party through hackers who we love. Thank you, hackers. Don't hack us. We don't want to see your dicks on the Zoom meeting. But if you're going to hack things, hack Nintendo more, get us more information. So what does this mean? It opens up the possibility of a lot more emulation. ROMs that are not working properly will be able to work properly. There's more source code. And the big thing is they were able to port Super Mario 64 to PC. Not ran in an emulator. It is a direct PC port of the game.
And it runs like a fucking dream from what I've seen. Like, It is gorgeous. You can run that in ultra widescreen, have it span across, like, I think I saw a guy that had it running on, like, 3 monitors or something. Just fucking ridiculous.
And what this is going to allow is Nintendo 64 has been emulated for a very long time, 25 years, I think, at this point. There has been emulators. I think Project 64 came out in 1998. I think it was relatively quick. But they had to find many workarounds for that emulator itself. The modern vintage gamer on YouTube is actually one of the first people to create Project 64.
Highly recommend his channel if you aren't already watching
you ain't watching it.
He's amazing.
Get on it. This man just knows his shit. So yeah, what's this mean? Nintendo 64 has always been a very difficult system to emulate. They've tried their best. Now we might get direct PC ports of all these games. The big one being GoldenEye. GoldenEye does not run well on an emulator. It runs okay, but it doesn't run well. There's a good chance we could see GoldenEye, much like GoldenEye Source that people made using the Unreal Engine. And it's pretty decent, but it's still not the full game. They could actually do the full game. And on top of that, the original GoldenEye had hidden in the code 4 original Bonds. It had Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and the other 2. I don't remember.
Were they just unused? Or?
They were, yeah. The sprites were in the coding of the game.
So they were done.
Yes, it was done. They just couldn't get the rights, the likeness rights to them.
Oh.
So on top of that, Nintendo 64 was one of the most difficult consoles to ever program for. And that's why there's not a lot of third-party support on that system itself. That's why a lot of people went to the PlayStation, which was a lesser system, but way easier to develop for. Nintendo ended up rectifying this when they came out with the GameCube. They did what was called mirroring. That means that instead of having to create these big polygon wire figures, they allowed for mirroring. That means that what was happening on the left side, they're going to save CPU, allow it to happen on the right side. So beginning with the GameCube and going through the Wii and the Wii U, it was pretty much the exact same hardware for all 3 systems. Even the Switch, I believe, runs off of modified Wii U hardware at this point. So Nintendo made things better after Nintendo 64 because it was so difficult. But now that the source code has been released, all these people, all these retro junkies are going to get a hold of this, and you're just going to see all kinds of crazy shit. Now, they're saying that it's not going to harm Nintendo that much, but Nintendo's already in litigation against the people who made the Super Mario 64 PC port. So,
oh, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo starts bringing the hammer down on all these people. Yep. Like, when it comes to even making fan games, they're relentless, dude. AM2R, they got the book thrown at them for that entire game, and it was beautiful. Meanwhile, if you look over at other companies like Sega, the guys who were making hacked ROMs and fan games, he actually developed probably one of the most successful Sonic games ever made.
Yep, he ended up making Sonic Mania. So they saw that and they took him in. Even Capcom, there was a kid making a fan game that was Capcom versus Street Fighter. And for the 25th anniversary of Street Fighter, Capcom saw that he was making this game. They gave him assets, they gave him permission, and they actually sponsored the game as a free download. You can find it. It's called Mega Man vs. Street Fighter. And it was a fan-made game that Capcom just said, hey, let's take this. Let's endorse what this kid's doing. He's done a great job. So that's something they should be doing. But Nintendo has always been very litigious when it comes to anything.
I don't get that, man.
They have to protect their IP. And their IP is the strongest IP out of any video game company. It's understandable. It might not be necessarily that they even want to do that. Maybe they like this stuff, but they have to protect their IP. Even so far as to go when the guys made Doom, John Romero, he ported Super Mario Bros. 3 to the PC. He did that in like 1993 or 1994, something like that. And he went to Nintendo and he said, hey, listen, I ported this. Do you guys want it? And they said, this is a great port, but no, we don't want to do that because we want to stay Nintendo-centric. They used to do that shit in the 80s. There's a port of Super Mario Bros. Called Super Mario Bros. Special. It's a very nerfed version of Super Mario Brothers, but it does exist out there. So they used to provide the license to other companies, but at a certain point, Nintendo, once they took over the market, just decided we are going to keep this in-house. The fact that they decided to start making Android games is absolutely insane and has worked out rather well based upon Pokemon Go. And even
they are making buku bucks off of that, Mario Run, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, all of that. Nintendo's seeing some green there, man.
So anyhow, that's it. What do you got, Ethan?
Really, there's only one bit of news that I want to talk about right now. And as a follow-up to our one of our previous episodes on Call of Duty Zombies, man, the myth, the legend, Lee Ross has not only left...
Lee Ross!
Lee.
What did he do?
Left Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Activision as a whole. He is no longer working on any Call of Duty games whatsoever, and not even working on anything for Activision.
He was the guy, too, right?
In the last episode, he was the guy that I said, if he takes over, then everything will be all right. I wish the guy the best. He's a great director, awesome guy. But man, it breaks my heart that he's not going to be doing anything for that franchise, even if it's not zombies. When I found that out, I sent Duck a message, and I even said, dude, it's doomed.
It's not.
They're doomed.
And I was just like, well, put it in the grave then. That's where the zombies need to be. But yeah, that sucks that he was really the spiritual animal of that series and really made it what
in my eyes he was. You know, he's the one that brought Kevin Smith, Elvira, all them, that whole sort of cinema theme to the new zombies maps and whatnot. And I know that not a whole lot of people received his zombies or that game very well. It's still some of my personal favorite stuff. That one kind of hurt a little bit, but seriously, Lee, best of luck to you, dude. You were amazing and an inspiration to me.
And for that, you get a Lee
Ross!
Well, on that note of losing things, this is a bad transition. Not being able to find stuff, my next story will be no one can get a hold of a motherfucking Nintendo Switch. Because of quarantine, no one can get their hands on one, and those who have are black marketing that shit hardcore and getting that sweet, sweet cheddar, if you will.
Oh, they are turning that over for a stupid profit.
Exactly. And I thought about buying a Switch when this first started. Now, I had not left work, and neither has Ethan. We've worked pretty consistently through this whole thing. Essential, if you will. But man, if I was sitting home like these other motherfuckers making $3K a month, you sons of bitches, you didn't tell me. Oh, I'm still upset about that. I didn't know. I did not know they were sitting home making all this sweet cheddar.
Here's the thing, that's going to run out, but that's besides the point. They're spending all that on Nintendo Switches, which is why they keep selling out, and then they're turning it over for $6, $7, whatever, $100.
I'm convinced Nintendo made the fucking COVID-19 at this point to sell Switches, dude. That's the way this shit works, like for real. For real. Like they were over there going, what can we do? And boom, Switches sold like crazy. Yeah, no, it's crazy, and it is, because I haven't got my stimulus yet, and I was thinking about buying
I haven't either.
And that's out the door, so I guess I have to get a stupid bicycle, like I said before. Fuck. you know.
Oh no, bicycle! I have to go outside and pedal and exercise.
Who wants to do that? But I just want to talk about that. I thought it was funny because,
dude, it's crazy, man. And it's funny. My sister and her girlfriend, they actually bought a Nintendo Switch during all this. They got a used one off of some guy, and it's actually in fairly decent condition, but it's kind of like still overpaid for a used one.
How much did they pay?
I think it was like $350, $375. Didn't come with any games, and it was used. But it came with a case, came with other stuff. It was in really good condition. So
it's just Nintendo
push and pull.
The Switch is the new Wii. That's all there is to it. Nintendo has like a 10-year thing where like Nintendo was the shit, and then Super Nintendo was also the shit. And then you get 10 years, you get the Wii, because Nintendo 64, GameCube, not great, Wii. And
it's
then
like they do.
10 years.
It's like they do a half step. So they'll do like super successful console, half step up.
Yeah.
Super successful console, half step up.
I bet you they don't anymore, though, because of this hybrid the Switch is. I bet you they don't. I bet you when the next generation of gamings come out.
Switch 2!
No, they don't. Guaranteed they don't. They treat Switch like a handheld console, which they have cornered the market on. That is it. They let PS5 and Xbox, whatever the fuck they're going to call it, be its own thing. And if anything, they will align themselves with Microsoft. And they will.
Oh, they already have?
They already have, but they're going to. And that's what you're going to see. They're going to be the handheld portion of it. Microsoft will be the home console portion of it. And they can have their cake and eat it too. I think that's what Nintendo has been moving towards for a while. Smart company. And I am a Nintendo loyalist. You know this. So, all right. Twitch Roulette helps you find the loneliest streamers. So
what?
Twitch has just implemented this thing. It's so hard to get anywhere on Twitch. Trust me, we know. We were on Twitch for a second.
We're occasionally on there still, but the whole pandemic thing kind of killed what we had going. And
yes, and it just became too much for me, and I really got addicted, and I was like, I have to get away from this. But Twitch Roulette allows for the smaller channels to actually get viewers, so it's much like Chat Roulette back in the day, which you probably don't remember, Ethan. Very well.
I know what it is.
Yeah, but about 10, 15 years ago, you could get on a thing that was a webcam, and you could hit the button, and it was supposed to stream you through like a bunch of people. It would stop like a roulette.
Isn't it pretty much now just like, you click the button, maybe every 5 people you won't get a dick?
Yeah, no. Every 5 people, every 2 to 5 you would get a dick. And you just get a dick jerking off. And my brother Eric, who was on the podcast previously, when he was a kid, a teenager, mind you, he used to do that with his friends, and he would see the people jerking off, he'd be like, "It's little! It's little!" And I watched him do it. It was hysterical. Like the second somebody, and I'm like, this is not right. But it was funny to me at the same time because it's like, Ethan, you watch it a little bit. It was hysterical though, dude. It was so funny. And he was like 12, man, when he did this shit. He's like, it's small. Oh, poor kid. Funny as hell though.
But that's awesome though for those small time streamers and people that don't have that huge of a fan base, namely us. We can hop back on there and people have a chance of actually finding us.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind getting back on it on a steady 9 p.m. on Monday, like we have said before. But it's a consistency thing. Plus, it's also a scheduling thing. But we'll see what happens. But I'm excited for people that like Howdy Cloudy, who I'm still friends with on Twitch, and I talk to her.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Her channel is slowly growing. She's getting more and more viewers, and she has a consistent schedule. And that's one of the big things it comes down to. But I think Twitch realized that there are a lot of talent out there and a lot to pull from that. And obviously, YouTube is going the way of the dodo in a lot of ways. And I can even see that now, too. YouTube is fucked up bad, especially within their gaming community.
For the last few years. So
yeah, in their gaming community, no. The heads of their gaming community, like the big channels, especially Matt Pat of Film Theory, Game Theory, all that shit, he's always naysaying YouTube. And I'm like, fucking Matt Pat, create your own fucking thing. And then you can be the head guru of this shit, and then everyone will follow. Because trust me, if you build it, we will come. And that was the idea of Twitch. But Twitch, it's a little bit different. But people are kind of there. I think that's a youth thing. That's a divide. I think people your age pretty much into Twitch. For me, when I was in the retro gaming, I started feeling really sad that I'm middle-aged. And just watching other middle-aged people play games, I was just like, this is really sad. And that's why I have to. So instead, we'll podcast about it.
There you go.
But yeah, no, it's exciting. So, definitely. And hopefully there'll be 100% less dicks on this. So what you got next, Ethan?
This will be my last thing unless you have something else.
I got one more after this, so go ahead.
Okay. Really the last thing that I kind of want to bring up, unfortunately, The Last of Us 2, the entire game, all of the major spoilers, the plot, and a whole bunch of other stuff has unfortunately leaked out way early before release.
Now, no spoilers. I didn't play the first game.
I have been avoiding all of the leaks personally myself, so I don't know what's going on. The only stuff I really have to go off of is, basically people's reaction to it. And it seems more people than not are really, really upset with what they've done to the story and some of the choices they made. And I'm very, very tempted to read it, but I feel like it's one of those things that without the context of the game and what's going on in the world and the gameplay to kind of complement it, you could get the wrong impression of it. Because The Last of Us, the first one, its story is fucking hardcore. And part of what made it so intense and so memorable and so lovable was the gameplay and how it very much complemented and helped tell this story of Joel and Ellie. And I think without that, Last of Us would not be good without its gameplay complementing the story. So
it really is a video game in the sense that you need both.
You need the gameplay and the story for it to be whole. So that is my belief.
Are they scrapping it all together then? It's done?
No. The game is still planned to release. It actually has a solid release date. It'll come out, I believe, mid-June. June 12th, I want to say. It'll come out in mid-June. And I'm excited. I'll probably pick it up. I've been warned not to buy it day one because friends of mine have said they read the spoilers and they're not even going to buy the game anymore now. Like, it's that fucking hardcore.
Damn.
So, I don't know what they did.
I mean, but there is something to that. There's something to, like, We Are Air were just all about Endgame, and then you came in, you're like, it got spoiled for me, and it wasn't as intense, and it wasn't as profound. There's something to spoilers and spoiler culture. That's why we try our best to say spoilers before stuff, because if you're, podcast I listen to too, they say spoilers about something, I try to bounce out.
It takes away from the experience and the impact of that moment. There's I'm not going to spoil The Last of Us. You need to play it because we will inevitably do an episode on it because it is a great game. The first one, at the very least, beginning to end, as a whole, standalone, is amazing.
And that's the thing that's important to nerd culture, which we're definitely part of. We want to share our love of nerdy, fun, good storytelling, things like that. But we don't want to ruin it for people unless they give us permission. That's the ultimate respect that true nerds have for each other. And a good nerd won't do the, oh, dude, you never played that? You fucking loser. They'll do the instead, like, dude, you gotta play this. Like, you don't.
Yeah, they'll do, dude, you never played it? Yeah. Oh, you fucking loser. Here's a copy. Play it.
yeah, try this. You'll love it. Yeah, we'll definitely check out that game so we can do one. I'm down with that, man. I've been wanting to play it for a long time. The last thing I want to talk about our patriarch of this podcast, the man who really is the spirit animal, if you will, of We Are Bagu.
You mean the one, the only, the one that you ain't.
Oh, you're right. You ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch.
The Billy Mitchell.
So Billy Mitchell. A little brief background if you don't know who Billy Mitchell is.
You already know who it is.
You probably
already know what it is.
Billy Mitchell had the high score for Pac-Man for many years. Also, the documentary King of Kong is a great documentary about him and Steve Wiebe, or Steve Wiebe, I'm not sure how you say it, and their competition to get the high score on Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. I think they competed for both of those. And Billy Mitchell had, I think, 4 or 5 top scores out of games. And a couple of years ago, there was controversy. Evidently, he used a MAME-emulated board within an arcade cabinet to get the high score on Donkey Kong. And from there, they considered it cheating. And they removed...
a big no-no for that sort of, what is it, a company or
It's
group?
Twin Galaxies is what it is. And it's an arcade initially in the 80s. Walter Day was the creator of the arcade. If you watch Wreck-It Ralph, there's a character that has like a referee shirt on. That's basically Walter Day. That's a version of him. And he was basically like Joe Rogan is to, MMA.
So he was the announcer?
He was kind of like that. He was the figurehead of it, and he was the real promoter, and he used it. And he got these kids together and made competitive video gaming in the 80s really something. And so that's where Billy Mitchell really sprung off of, okay? Guinness Book of World Records has to find a moderator for this. They trust Twin Galaxies. Twin Galaxies provides them the high scores. Boom, goes in the book, recognized all around the world. Regardless of what you think, fame and fortune come with this. Now, Billy Mitchell was a hell of a hard worker, too. And like I said, we're apologists for Billy Mitchell. I mean, we went and saw him at Retropalooza. We did not talk to him to me, he was very intimidating. I don't know about you, Ethan. I did not want to talk.
I thought he was cool as shit.
I
He's
didn't want to talk
funny.
to the mullet, dude. I did not want to go. He's scary.
He was funny as fuck, dude. We sat and watched his panel for a while, and I think.
Oh, you know what? That's not even true because I asked him a question, so I guess
you
technically
did. So
I
you did talk to him.
But I was nervous because I'm like, that mullet will kill me. It will crawl off the. Yeah. What'd you say? Oh.
The mullet whip crack. You just got Billy Mitchell, bitch.
He's actually taking this to court now. He is suing over it
Is
for
he
defamation
really?
of character. And rightfully so, though, because he is so hated within the video game community. I think he has every right for defamation of character and to sue over it. I think it's the right thing to do. He doesn't help himself because he's arrogant and conceited, and he knows it, and he's super sarcastic. We will do a Billy Mitchell cast eventually, and we will tell our side of what we think. And I mean, maybe we'll get an answer by the time we get there, because it'll be a little bit later on. But other than that, I just wanted to let you know that you ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch.
Yeah, you ain't. So just
don't
stop
be
trying.
Judging. Yeah,
don't be judging.
Don't be judging.
Because our boy BM,
Yeah.
he's about to
Man.
he's about to make.
He's gonna light you up like he lights up the hot sauce, bitch. Oh, smell like hotcakes. All right, Ethan. So you said you had a subject. You kind of gave me a hint of what you want to do, but what do you want to talk about tonight?
I want to talk about the way that the gaming industry has kind of been shifting in the last so many years. Now, I know you're not super big into the modern gaming scene, but you've started getting into it. You've got Steam, you've got a bajillion fucking games on there because of a good buddy of yours. So I have no doubt that you have experienced some of this and probably picked up on some of it as well. And tonight, I would actually like to talk about the stuff that happens after a game comes out. Because the big thing with a lot of these modern games nowadays is updates, DLC, free content, and of course the dreaded and oh so evil microtransaction.
Ooh, you made me shiver.
I'm sorry. Now, everything that's said here is purely just mine and Duck's opinion. None of this is any hardcore fact, or there's not evidence behind it. This is just stuff that we have experienced and seen with our time playing games, and obviously how we were influenced and affected by them. Me personally, I remember back in the day on the Xbox 360, the first huge gaming console I owned and was a part of, I was blind to DLC. I got whatever game on disc. I've got X amount of content that I'm playing through and I love it. And you're telling me that I can throw $5-$6 at it and get more, 20, 30 more hours to play through? Mm-hmm. I'm fucking down. And it stemmed from the way the industry has gone rather than just putting a whole game onto a cartridge. The gaming industry shifted from when it goes gold, that's it. That's the final product, to nowadays it's, it came out 6 months ago. Let's just, fix it 12 months later.
Right. And it's become a major issue, you said, where it's
become a huge issue.
Yeah.
But in this, I hope to kind of argue both sides of that, because there is a lot of good that's come out of these later updates and later content drops and stuff like that. But there's just as much bad. And I really don't see any end to it. But
No, this is the new way. This is the way it's going to happen.
This is it.
This is
it, man.
Like whether they're releasing a broken game and they patch it to fix it. Most games you buy in box, you're going to install, and then it's going to download a huge fucking update. If you don't have high-speed cable, you are fucked. If they can call it that anymore, what do they call it?
Exactly, dude. So one of the most popular games right now, as of this recording, is Call of Duty's Warzone. Battle Royale mode, 150 drop-in, and last man standing wins. And it's fun. It's fucking fun. It's free to play, which is starting to gain more traction, which I'm all for.
I tried to play it, but my computer wouldn't run it. My friend Ben's like, we're going to play this. I was like, no, we're going to play Killer Queen because we could actually, my computer will run that. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot run that on a potato, unlike the latest Doom that came out. You could run that on a pile of shit.
Oh, I need to play that, man. I can't wait for
Doom
that.
Eternal? Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah.
I love me some Doom.
Warzone and Modern Warfare as a whole, because they're pretty much one and the same. You have to download all of Modern Warfare, even if you don't own it, to play Warzone. Now, every month or so, every couple weeks, you'll get hit with an update. It adds some new stuff, fixes bugs, tweaks some gameplay elements, stuff like that, weapon balancing. But at least me, I expect all of that shit to be taken care of during that update. So when it's done downloading, I hit start to play. I expect to be able to play.
Boom.
they had, along with that patch, there was an update that was DLC. So when you started up the game, it said, oh yeah, your game is up to date, but we won't let you play until you download Data Pack 1.
How big was Data Pack 1?
Well, Duck, Data Pack 1
Ooh.
was 32 fucking gigs.
Holy shit. The aggression in Ethan's face right now.
And that was after I just got done downloading update for about 12 to 18 gigabytes.
And the game itself is huge too.
150 something gigabytes, dude.
Yeah, it's a big game. It took me all night to download. Yeah.
Yeah, and
then it wouldn't run
it.
And then I was like, fuck, all right, here we go. It's a gorgeous game, though. It really is. And I could tell what I could get through it. The interface was great, and I could see what they were doing. They put a lot into this game. They're not fucking around.
No, it's a great game, but the issue is it doesn't feel like game updates are as sacred as they once were. It doesn't feel like DLC is as meaningful. It doesn't feel like microtransactions are all that worth it, because you have games like, I love Payday 2 to death. It is one of my favorite games of all time. I've dumped almost 400 plus hours into that game on PC alone, and then X amount more over like 3 different consoles. I love that game. That game is notorious for DLC packs, each one running $5 to $6 to $8 a piece. And it has, I believe, a total of, 54 individual DLC packs.
Wow.
Like, granted, you can get each of those for about $1 or less nowadays. And you can get bundles that make it even cheaper. But think about people like me, who when 2-3 years ago, they were only about half that number. Those things launch at fucking $6, $8, $9 a piece, whatever. And I was sucking that Payday cock for a while, man.
Yeah.
I love that game.
It adds up. And that's the whole thing behind it. That's the whole idea behind it. You know, you got to really break it down to where did this begin, you know?
Yeah,
where did the idea of extended content begin? And truly where it began, Sega Channel, and even before that, these phone modem connections that they had back in the day. So Atari had a version of this where it would actually send games to a external device through your phone line. I think that was the first version. In Japan, they did that somewhat. And then you get to, in America, Sega Channel. That was the first time you were able to actually get games on your console through the Sega Channel, through the modem, through the adapter. And the big one was Mega Man, the Wily Wars. And it was a 16-bit version of Mega Man 1, 2, and 3 with an extended game on top of that.
That's badass.
So the only way you could get that game was through the Sega Channel. It was a Sega Channel exclusive. So that's exclusive content right there. That's a big part of what they do right now. Then in hotels and on planes, they had a version of that for Nintendo. And in Japan, it was called BS Satellaview. Is what it was. And it actually coincided with radio dramas for the game. So you would play the games, you would download them on your modem, and it was actually allotted to a certain time that you could play these games, and there would be new storylines, especially in the Legend of Zelda versions that they did. When you get into the true use of this, it's the Sega Dreamcast. And the Sega Dreamcast had updates. It had the ability to browse the internet through the browser in the system. But the big thing was, we talked about this before, Sonic Adventure had both a Christmas and a Halloween package that put those graphics into the game at that time.
That was probably the first big
downloadable
game
content,
that was, had any sort of free update or anything that released after the game had already gone gold.
Right, and so we don't really see until Xbox comes in. They really, truly start to implement a lot of this. Now, everyone was trying for a long time, and Nintendo would do it in interesting ways. They would recycle a lot of their content. They would resell it, such as through the Game Boy Advance games. Like you said, you had Metroid on one of those, the re-release of that. And then later, they did the e-card reader, where they would do like the really, really small one. Boom! There it is. Nice. And then they would do like the really small games like Balloon Fight, Super Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, through the e-reader, which was an add-on to the Game Boy Advance. So they've always tried to find a way to repackage classic titles so that you would buy them again. That's what it came down to. They need longevity to these games.
Yes.
These games. That's what these DLC and these extensions and all it is. These games are expensive as fuck to make. Expensive.
And it's kind of like
fuck.
giving them an adrenaline shot.
Exactly. I also want to say Euro Zelda, which was being developed for the Nintendo Disk Drive in Japan, was a master quest for the Ocarina of Time Zelda game. And what they were doing is they were rearranging the dungeons, putting stuff other places, and it was to be literally you put in, Legend of Zelda cartridge, and then the disk drive you put in this disc, and it would have unlocked, it would have added all this stuff. Nintendo was working on their version of a DLC content by doing that in a hard disk. Eventually, we did end up getting that with the bonus disc. They released that as Master Quest, which does exist. So you can play that if you want. The GameCube had that, and you can actually buy it now on a lot of the shops.
Hey everybody, it's just Doc jumping in here real quick to say thank you again for checking out the podcast today. If you are enjoying it, head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give us a like. Also, you can find all of our social media in the description. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at /WeArePodcast. With that, back to the podcast.
Okay, your sales are starting to dip a little bit. Let's give you just a little extra juice to spike it back up.
Right.
Because I know back in the day, when I was playing with a lot of my friends on Xbox 360 specifically, I recall Black Ops 2. That was one of the first big game. Well, that and Halo Reach, but it was more the DLC side of things. Black Ops 2 was the first big one that had really, really prominent DLC packs, at least to me. My friends group was playing the multiplayer, the zombies mode, all of that stuff, and you felt like you were getting left behind if you didn't have the latest content pack, because when I first got the game, all I had was base game stuff, the standard multiplayer maps, the one and only set of zombies maps, and the campaign. All my other friends were on DLC pack 2 playing the Alcatraz zombies map while I was still on Transit, and they didn't want to play that, so they wanted to play Alcatraz because it's the new thing.
So how much did that cost? Like a couple bucks, and you had to throw it on there? Or
well, this was around the time where people were starting to get a little more creative with their DLC and how they presented it. During the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 era, these games started doing what's called a season pass. So basically, you get all the future content packs, the big ones, for a slightly discounted price. You pay $50-$60, the price of a new fucking game for all the content packs. But overall, you'd save like $5-$10, whatever it was. So in the end, it was a good idea to do.
It was spaced out, right? You paid that up front.
You paid it up front, not knowing what you were going to get.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a mystery box, which they loot boxes or whatever they do now.
That was one of the first precursors to that. Is if you know you're going to be playing this game and you know that you're more than likely going to buy this shit anyways, here it is discounted for you.
What do you think they got that idea? I mean, they know that people are collectors. They know that people like special avatars and stuff. Did a lot of this come from Second Life? Did a lot of this come from World of Warcraft? Buying specific things for in-game that they found out microtransactions actually gave them more than actually buying a retail game? Is that where the transition was?
No, I think the transition really lied in mobile gaming. Way back in the earlier days of iPhone games specifically, iPhone and Android, I guess, but more so, in my eyes, iPhone, a lot of the apps were more complete, solid game experiences. You didn't see anything that would have any sort of outside purchase besides what you paid for the app or the occasional free one where you drop 99 cents to get rid of the ads. That was about it. But then you started seeing these games pop up where it was like, okay, you can play the game for free, or you pay $1 for the game or whatever, and you can earn coins or whatever collectible, or you could pay another $1 and get a small little coin pack. That way you don't have to play for as long and grind it out. Or you could pay $10, $5, $20, $100, and you could just get all the cool shit without having to spend 3 months of your life playing this game nonstop. You could just drop it and go.
That's one of the biggest things that turns me off about those kinds of games. Is I see the grinding in it, and I see the money. You can purchase it. I'm just like, this is dumb.
And a lot of this kind of started leaking into gaming, especially around the time of. And again, I don't know if this was the first game to do it, but one of the first big ones to go about it was Overwatch. You would have these crates that you'd earn through gameplay, where it would drop character costumes, I guess weapons or whatever else. I don't play Overwatch, but I know that crates and cosmetics are huge in that game. And you can also go out of your way and buy those crates for actual cash. You know, you pay a couple bucks here, get a pack of crates, and you have no idea what you're going to get. You could get the same shit you already have. You could not. You could get that amazing costume that's only going to be there for the Halloween event that lasts 2 more days. There's so much behind it that is very manipulative. Anyone that actually listens to this is going to kill me for saying this. If it was done right, it could be non-malicious. Microtransactions are not the end-all of gaming. I think it is the next big step forward.
I do too, and I agree with that. And so they're going to come to try to kill me, I guess, too. In a lot of ways, for me, I think microtransactions, because you have to kind of do it that way. We can see it right now that it's a future of gaming. There's so many games that you can buy on your phone that give you the base game, and you pay $1 here, $1 there. Pokemon Go really changed the game when it came to microtransactions because,
that was really the first big successful one,
right? Like they made
mobile.
They made so much fucking money off that, and I know they made money off me. They probably made a good $100 to $150 off me over a span of 6 months. It's fine.
You gotta have those Pokeballs.
Yeah, dude, I was fine with it because at that time I was in a relationship. I had a 5-year-old who wanted to play that game. He loved it. I enjoyed playing it. We had a blast. So it was a bonding thing.
If you enjoy the game and you're enjoying what you're doing, you know, why wouldn't you be willing to throw a couple bucks to get more enjoyment out of it right now?
And it never bothered me. Now, I'm not all about the casino aspect of things like Candy Crush, but if it catches you and it brings you in and you want to spend some money on it at your enjoyment, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that is a big part of it. Now, can it get out of control? Yes. Back in the day when EverQuest came out, that was the first real big MMORPG that was out there. People lost everything to that game. Few people, but there were a couple. And it's just like anything. Addicts are addicts. It doesn't matter what it was. And there was for a time also Widows of Warcraft. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but people lost their spouses to these games because they were so obsessed.
Yeah.
So you have to be cautious with that. And having that addictive casino-like nature, gamblers are gamblers, regardless of what it is. That's the one thing that can be very dangerous about these things. So
for sure. And there's so many games out there that take advantage of this, and that's where it becomes malicious, is in my gaming circle. Of course, it all comes back to fucking Call of Duty because we played the shit out of all of those games. PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Black Ops 3. They introduced loot boxes into the game for the first time. Now, with Black Ops 2, you had DLC. That was normal. You had the Season Pass. That was normal. All of that came back. The one thing that they didn't do for Black Ops 3 that they did in the second one was camo packs. This was their little microtransaction tester for that. Well, actually, that's not true. But they had camo packs. And you could pay like $3 and your gun would be coated in like bacon or a solid... You know, just silly shit, just fun stuff. Little customizations that are completely optional, don't harm the game in any way, and, you know, throw a couple bucks, help the developers, and you get cool shit.
Right.
I actually really prefer that. But then Call of Duty Advanced Warfare started the loot box thing. Black Ops 3 perfected it. They, at first, only had camos, costumes, and purely cosmetic stuff inside these crates. And it was just like Overwatch or any of these mobile games. You get it through gameplay, you can spend cash to get it more quicker and get better items, but it's still that roulette, you know, you never know what you're going to get. That was until they started adding weapons into those crates. Those weapons are game-changing. They change the meta, the flow, how the whole game progresses, and you could not earn those through in-game challenges. You could not earn those by leveling up. You earned those by finding them in a loot crate.
And it was random, right?
Oh, absolutely random.
Yeah.
Like, I remember the first few guns that came out, I was so excited for them. Now, I knew it sucked that they were behind these loot crates.
These paywalls. Yeah,
it's a paywall.
It's a paywall.
And you don't know how high that paywall is, because I know that there was tons of people out there. There was YouTubers that would go through and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars trying to get the new guns so they can show off these cosmetics to people. And what they would do is they would have videos of themselves opening up 500 plus crates. And it's like, ooh, how much are we going to have to spend before we can get the new, what was it, the MX Garand or this or that? And it's like, dude, that's ridiculous.
Well, but that's also feeding itself. That's the snake eating its own tail. Because you as a fan, you're going and you're supporting this YouTube. You want to see it. It's an interesting video. They're charismatic. but you're also like, well, I need to know because how much am I going to spend? And so it is really, and they knew what they were doing, and they were using that free marketing. I guarantee some of those videos are
100%
or they sent them some money, or it was rigged, or whatever you want to say. But I mean, this culture, we do thrive off that. As a person who's a retro gamer, I love retro video game videos on YouTube. That's one of my favorite things to watch, and I watch them all the time. Like, you go through my YouTube, it's just that and movies. That's all it is, and it's hysterical. But it's kind of scary at the same time to know they've gotten that good at getting our money, because we will pay.
Disguising it.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then the gambling aspect of it, man, because I think they ran into issues with that at one point. Like, I think
it all started with Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Yes,
the remake, not the good one, the remake. Because when that came out, I think someone did the math on that, and I can't remember what it was, but I think they said you would have to do, what was it, like 3 or 4 months of solid grinding, just 100% nonstop playing, not sleeping, not eating, no nothing, to unlock one hero. Heroes being your Darth Vaders, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, whatever else. And that's the reason you buy the fucking game, is so you can go in the battlefield as the Stormtrooper or the Rebel Trooper, whatever, and then kill them all as Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker.
Right.
That's the point. How can you have a Star Wars game without that?
Yes. And so this was really the downfall, and where they got into a lot of trouble with the fandom, where the backlash really hit it.
Yes. Oh, dude, that bit EA and DICE in the butt.
Big time.
Really big time.
They rebelled. Oh,
they were
how Star Wars of the fans. They were rebels.
And that also resulted in the most downvoted post on Reddit of all time, but that's besides the point.
I want to know about that. I don't know about that. What do you mean?
Oh, yeah, dude. When that guy, they came out and were announcing, one of the devs or someone from EA or your community manager or something, they came out and said something stupid. They just commented on it, just like, oh, you could still earn it, blah, blah, blah. It is the most downvoted thing on Reddit.
People called them on their bullshit, basically.
100%.
I mean, he's not wrong. You could, but no. I ain't spending 15 years of my life trying to get me some Luke Skywalker. I'm sorry.
No. But there's an interesting thing that came out of that, is that really started this sort of renaissance and revival of other monetization tactics, which I think it's a good thing. I'm not going to lie. Because had that not happened, I guarantee you games that are super successful like Fortnite, where they do a battle pass system. You pay $10, you get all this content, but you just got to sit and level it up.
Right.
The more
so they found that sweet spot in between, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a moderation.
And it's not a lottery. You know what you're going to get, but you do have to play to earn it.
And Fortnite has its own community build. I mean, like, kids love that shit. It's actually a bigger span than that. It's adults with their kids love that fucking game.
Dude, I played the first so many seasons of it, and it was fun. It was great. Granted, the game has changed way more since then, and I will probably never touch it again, but
I mean, I've never even played it, but I like the art style. I buy my nephew.
It's unique.
I buy my nephew toys from it all the time. I'll call his dad and be like, is this good? I give it to him, and he'll be like, you're the best! And he's like, I got him this giant dinosaur head, and he's like, no way! And I'm like, I did good. I did good there. Did you guys see I did good? I'm like looking at them like, he likes me. You know this.
And what's crazy is that game, what Fortnite became, was not what that game was originally supposed to be. It was a player versus environment sort of horde mode game where you would go into this world and there was zombies and monsters and stuff, and you would have to build and kind of defend your base and fend them off. And they made the Battle Royale mode as kind of a little side gig out of it, put it out free to play, started the whole Battle Pass thing, and it exploded. And I wholeheartedly believe it is because of two things. That Battle Pass system, the way they implemented it is perfect. It is free to play. They're asking a reasonable price, and they're giving a good amount of content for it. Quality content, too. They're also pumping out an update every week. One small thing, just a new item, tweaked this, new location. They're not doing anything extravagant. They're not reworking everything all at once. They're not panicking and pulling all the weapons, and there's nothing, no big changes. But every week you get on there, there's something new. Just one thing.
Do you think it's a lark that happened, or do you think that was a happy accident that they immediately we need to plan this out?
Happy accident.
Happy Accent.
At first.
Yeah.
But then
they brought in the people and they said, we need to market this shit and figure it out. Because it took them a while to even release the actual Fortnite game, didn't it? Like, didn't it go in kind of a bit of a
not technically released. Because the Save the World side of it, that was supposed to be the main Fortnite game. And it said that it is slated for a 2019 release. We're in 2020, and it's still not free to play. It did say it would be free to play in 2019, but that's not where the money is. The money's in the Battle Royale.
I mean, it's awesome. I mean, you know, and you think about it, there is a connection because, like I was talking about GoldenEye earlier, that was the first 4 screens sitting there killing your buddies together on Nintendo 64. Maybe Unreal did it before that, or Quake, did it before that, I think, possibly, or around the same time. But that multiplayer aspect of it, I think, is what truly does pull people in. And there was always the promise of that. The same thing with Call of Duty. Like you said, that's the multiplayer aspect. It's just a kid-friendly Call of Duty in a lot of ways. But they took Call of Duty and Minecraft, melded them together, and created this. But like you said, the genius of it is the slow trickle and the price point of it really works. Now, you were saying at the beginning of this, do I have an issue with DLC? Even Nintendo has, and like I said before, I'm a Nintendo fanboy, has gotten into the DLC market. Zelda Breath of the Wild has released DLC content. Splatoon has a lot of DLC content, which makes sense based on the arena fighter aspect of that game. Even updates for different games, and they'll add little things here and there. I think there is a market for it. Like I said before,
DLC packs have gotten a lot more malicious as time has gone on, because I think we're in this weird gray area of people are having a hard time putting what should be microtransaction, what should be little small purchases, and what should go into these big content drops. Again, that's very subjective. That's to each their own. Everyone's going to have their own opinions on stuff and what's worth it and what's not. That's why you get cases like on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, Steam and all of that as well too. That's my era of gaming right there. Oblivion, they got a lot of flack for back in the day when they came out with the Horse Armor DLC pack.
What's that?
That's literally it.
You got armor.
Horse armor.
As
you had to pay for it. It was not free.
That you were riding,
yes,
needed armor.
You put armor on the horse.
And you had to pay for your horse armor.
Yes, it was not in the base game. You had to pay.
What did that cost?
Horse armor was a DLC pack for Oblivion back in the day that cost a whopping $2.50.
And was it required?
No, it was not required. It was purely cosmetic. But here's the thing. You got 8 variations of horse armor, but you had to do a quest, and only the first set of horse armor was free. Each set that you purchased after that would cost you 500 gold in-game. You have people that make things like that are just completely pointless, very obviously a cash grab, and a waste of people's time and money. Now, a lot of people, even myself, would go $250, that's nothing, but after you just paid $60 for a brand new game or whatever it is, that's some bullshit, man.
Yeah, that is. That's a big issue. That needs to not be happening. Because the problem is, if I spend $60 in a game, that game should be complete. Now, if you want to charge me an extra $10 on top of that at release, which they do now, so I can get a little bit extra content, that's fine. But also, that's kind of bullshit too, because I should have got that content to begin with. That is the complete game. I should only have to spend $60.
There are 2 views on that, and I can be kind of split either way. With certain games and things like that, I 100% agree that, the shit you get for pre-ordering, the bonus content, more often than not, that should have been part of the base game. It should have been included for everyone. Then you run into cases where, like, again, Black Ops 3, I pre-ordered that game. I got the one that was $100, came with the Steelbook, came with the base game, came with the Season Pass. So I got all the DLC, and it also came with 3 DLC packs. 2 weapon camos from the previous game, which I absolutely love. They're some of my favorite camos in the game. But also the Nuketown multiplayer map and the Giant Zombies map. It also came with a Nuketown camo for free, which they kind of threw in there as a secret surprise. And I was like, okay, this is fucking awesome. Now, other people could get the maps by buying the Season Pass, but that was the only way to get that stuff. Until 3, 4, 5 months down the road, they straight up were like, oh, by the way, this camo and this map, free for everyone now. Have fun.
Oh, well, shit. Now, how do you feel about that? Because you paid a little bit extra up front. Or were you okay with that?
I was a little upset.
Yeah.
I was a little upset. I'm not going to lie. You know, I mean, granted, it should have been free to begin with, but giving everyone Nuketown for free, I was kind of like, this is some bullshit. But I was more pissed off about the camo. You know,
these.
You know, it's like I felt so cool because only a season pass people, we got the camo. It's like, well, now everyone has it. Now it's not so cool.
Well, how about stuff like content specific to the retailer? Whether you buy it at GameStop, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, shit like that exists too.
Yeah,
how about that?
I'm a sucker for content that's specific for the retailer.
Best Buy is your best friend when it comes to Persona, dude. There's at least 2 or 3 times like you're like, I gotta get the Best Buy to get my fucking Persona game. I'm like, really? Dude, you're like, no, I gotta go. I'm mainlining that Persona. Gotta get
just hit me up. Hit me up.
Well, let's move towards Mortal Kombat.
You've played some of MK11, right? The latest entry in the franchise.
I think. Did I?
I want to say I brought it over once.
I think so, yes.
You, me, and Hobbs were playing some of it.
Right.
Now, that's always been kind of a staple of theirs is their DLC characters. They bring in old characters from past Mortal Kombat games that didn't have anything to do with the story. They have new costumes and cosmetics, and then they'll, of course, bring in guest characters. I think Mortal Kombat X, they had like fucking Leatherface and Alien and all these horror movie icons and stuff, and you know,
it was awesome. It was fucking awesome, yeah.
But, you know, MK11 is actually really in the middle of a pretty bad controversy right now over their latest DLC pack. And I don't know if you know about this.
I don't know. What's the story?
So with MK11, the base game launched with their typical season pass stuff. They called it Combat Pack 1 or Combat Pass 1, whatever it was. It included 5 characters, and of course there's a whole bunch of free updates and costumes and stuff for people that bought the pass, people that just wanted the base game, whatever. And it included, let's see if I can name these off the top of my head. The final count of characters was Shao Kahn. If you just bought the Mega whatever edition of the game, which I did, you didn't get Shao Kahn. That made me mad. I had to pay $5 extra for him, and you bet your ass I did. Fucking Shao Kahn.
You need Shao Kahn.
You need Shao Kahn. I'm not gonna have a grayed out person on my roster because I decided to save $5 and cut a corner. You had Shang Tsung, Nightwolf, Sindel, Terminator, the fucking Terminator from Dark Fate, which it looks like Arnold. They had a different guy voice him, but he did a pretty decent job. Okay, passable in my opinion. You had the Joker, DC's Joker, which fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then the last character for the Combat Pass was Spawn.
Oh, no shit. I didn't
fucking Spawn, dude.
No shit.
Yeah.
Out there. We haven't seen Spawn in a fighter since Soul Calibur for the PS2, I believe.
Dude, and he is a bad bitch.
Yeah, Spawn's... Now, that's marketing. What that is because WB owns NetherRealms, which creates, Mortal Kombat, along with a couple of DC games, I think, that they were involved in.
Yeah, they make the Injustice series.
Which are fucking great, too. But for that, Terminator, that's in their catalog, and also, what you're saying, Spawn, I believe they're working on the film right now with Todd McFarlane.
There's a new DLC pack coming to Mortal Kombat 11, and it is not part of the Combat Pass, so everyone has to buy it, if they want it. It's going to include a continuation of the story, which is a first for Mortal Kombat, and it's also adding 3 new characters. New stages, friendships are coming back, and a couple other little tweaks and things. The big selling point of this new content pack is 3 characters. Fujin, the Wind God and brother of Raiden, the Shokan warrior Shiva, who has been gone from Mortal Kombat for a while, and of course, the one that I'm most excited for, RoboCop.
I saw that, yes.
Dude.
RoboCop. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
And it's voiced by the original dude, too, Peter Weller.
Peter Weller. Yeah, that's fucking badass. So why is this controversial, though? I don't understand that.
Well, it's $40.
Holy shit! Now, is the content enough to be a new game on its own?
Well, here's what they're valuing it at, because there's a couple different kinds of ways you can get that. Is you can get, if you have everything else already, you can pay $40 to get just that. If you don't have Mortal Kombat 11, never had it, you can get that, the previous character pass, and the new stuff for $60. It's the cost of the base game. No, it's a great deal. If you've been holding off to get into Mortal Kombat, that's your fucking in right there.
Right.
You get all the characters at once. Just Boom.
But if you've already spent that buku bucks on it,
they're valuing everything you previously had at $20.
Yeah, you're kind of getting fucked.
And I spent $80 on that.
And you're a fan, man. I know you are. I think you've played through it completely.
I got into Mortal Kombat because of Mortal Kombat 11. I saw the trailer and fell in love. And I'm normally not a huge fighting game person aside from like Smash Brothers or something.
Right.
But this is fucking awesome.
But I mean, that's a hefty price to pay.
It's too much.
It's too much. Just even what you just told me, $20 to $30, if even that. But they also know people love Mortal Kombat, and they will pay. And this game has been, I think, the best reviewed game in a long time. Mortal Kombat X was a tight fucking game, though. It really was. It was a good game.
MK11's it improves on more than it breaks. So
yeah. So,
but that's the sad reality that we're living in right now. Is a lot of these games are really just they're devaluing how much their DLC and whatnot is worth. Kingdom Hearts 3 did it with Remind. They charged $30. A lot of other games that have been taking advantage of these DLC packs, and that's why I think they're on their way out, unfortunately.
Smash Brothers has been selling like gangbusters with their
that's like a big exception right there. Yeah. Joker's in Smash, the fucking Piranha Plant. Oh.
And the big thing with Smash is the community was doing it already. So if Nintendo hadn't taken advantage of it, it would have been stupid on their part. Because on Super Smash Brothers Brawl, which is considered the lesser of the Smash games,
favorites,
people got a hold of that. They got a hold of the code, and they ended up making
Project M, right?
Project M, that's right. And they ended up implementing a lot. Now, you could do it two ways. Download Project M as a completed game, burn it, and play it. And it's fucking good.
It's amazing.
You could put the characters in your memory card and insert them. The fans found a way to put in their own DLC. Nintendo saw this and said, fuck it, we're missing out money again. There's a calling for it. This is what the hardcore fans want, to the point where they fixed our fucking game and made it play more like Melee. Let's do this. And so they opened up the market to that, and it was a genius move. And I think that's for that game, that is a good use of DLC. Sure. And it's affordable.
Yeah, it's not crazy expensive. And then to contrast that, you look at, God, I will never get over this, Kingdom Hearts 3. I cried at the end of that game. Me and a whole bunch of other people waited years.
Oh, I thought they were in the room with you, and they were behind you crying for some reason. You're up there
they
like,
might as well be.
And you turned around, and it was me and Mike and Hobby. We're like, you're right, Ethan.
We've been waiting years for this.
No.
You know, they came out with, I think it's the first DLC pack for any Kingdom Hearts game, or at least first sizable one. Dude, it was $30.
Damn.
And it was a waste of my fucking money.
What'd you get?
I got jack shit. It was touted as like a continuation of the story, the missing link of this very important part of Kingdom Hearts. They literally told the same fucking segment of the story. It was literally the plot dump that is the end of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Which was your
from start to finish.
That was your biggest complaint, too. I remember when you first played it, you said that the exposition dump that happens in the close to the final act, you said was just clusterfuck.
It was bad.
So their extension was to explain the clusterfuck, and they made you pay for it.
They didn't explain the clusterfuck. They made you replay it.
And that was your least favorite part of the game.
Like, for a first time through, it was incredible because I hadn't played through it before, and I was seeing these characters pop up and getting more insight into them. But going back through it again, all of the same cutscenes again, just for every fight to have one extra cutscene. And then after that, there was a small area that was actually new to play where you had to just kind of go around, find a couple items, boss fight that has been in literally every Kingdom Hearts game ever made, and then final boss fight. It also did nothing to explain the story, but more so on that, you had to have a cleared save file to play through the DLC. So you had to beat the game to play the DLC.
Wow.
Okay. Well, then the big thing in Kingdom Hearts, yes, that you paid $30 for.
Wow.
Then on top of that, there's these boss fights that you can do called limit cut boss fights. It's where they bring back a whole bunch of these bosses from in the game, cut the limit, so to speak, and unleash them. It's these bosses that they're most powerful, most unpredictable, most difficult. And you have to not only clear the game, you have to clear the DLC, which is 4 hours, and use that save file to access the limit cut stuff. Now, limit cut and data fights, or whatever you want to call it, those extra super hard challenging boss fights, those were in-game for Kingdom Hearts 2, which came out 2000 whatever on PlayStation 2.
Well, I'm thinking the whole time that you're saying this, like, how are you going to get mad at Kingdom Hearts? It's the king of the re-release. It's the king of the ultimate DLC, which is just repackaging it in HD over and over and over and over again.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
You should have known what you were getting into with this, man.
Yeah.
I know your love blinded you, but we on the outside saw the truth. We were like,
oh, 100%.
We were like, Kingdom Hearts is cool, but fuck that shit.
So, I mean, to kind of start winding this down, I really do think that with the way that the industry has gone from games going to gold to small content updates to updates being more common to DLC to microtransactions to battle passes and, what we're at now, we're on the tail end of seeing downloadable content disappear. And I don't think a lot of people will agree with me on that necessarily, but I really firmly do believe that, because a lot of the more popular games, the ones that pioneer and popularize these methods and concepts of obtaining cash for these games, they've stopped doing DLC.
Right.
Like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, they're doing free updates. Every month or so, there's a new season. A bunch of people buy into the Battle Pass, and they got to be making some money on that. They have microtransactions, which have guns with special perks or camos or attachments in this. You've got all sorts of cosmetic shit that you can just buy outright alongside the Battle Pass. Everyone gets free maps. You can get free weapons. They've kind of made it to where even if you missed out on the weapons that are in the Battle Pass, which you can get for free just by playing, you can do challenges once that season's over to unlock those guns, which is something Black Ops 3 never did. It's starting to level out where there's really no need for DLC anymore.
Right.
At least not in the multiplayer settings of games. And even then, I think a lot of these single-player experiences, I hope, will start shifting away from DLCs as well. Like, I guess the one exception to that would be fighter games like Mortal Kombat or Smash Brothers. Everyone's going to love having new characters in, but I mean, wouldn't it be something amazing if they did a free update where you get this character, but, they have maybe their own cosmetic systems and they're funding the game off of that?
I think, and I truly believe this is the exact opposite. I think that inverse, we're moving away from physical media, especially with Corona right now. I think a lot of brick and mortar is going to go down. I think GameStop is fucked, number one. They've been fucked for a long time, and they're going to be going out the window, and they hold the monopoly on video game brick and mortar.
Not anymore.
Others, not anymore, because they're going to be phased out. Their biggest issue was digital content. Now, some people are purists. I look behind Ethan, and I see a lot of collectible shit, and I know he's got a lot up there on the wall, too. Me, personally, I could care less. Some stuff I want to collect, especially the retro stuff, but a lot of stuff I'm fine with digital copies of. I don't care. Some people need to hold that piece of history. I just want to experience it. So it really comes down to what your preference is with a lot of this. And I think that we're going to move purely digital. I think people having, the idea of the front end, kind of like if you run a MAME emulator or even RetroArch, like you can build front ends into that. People are more interested in the video game roulette aspect of that. If you look at something like the mini consoles too, those compilations of those mini consoles where it's just an emulated version of the system within a box. I dig that too.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to move more towards things like that. And I think digital will become the new normal. And I think with that, these games are too expensive to produce, not to pump in new content. So you spend 4 or 5 years working on a video game to release it, and you get 1 month window shot at it. That's not realistic. You need to, like you said, keep injecting the adrenaline into the veins and keep it going. So Mortal Kombat's probably doing it right. Super Smash Brothers is doing it right. Call of Duty was doing it right. But when EA got in trouble with the loot crates,
Battlefield and DICE,
when they really fucked themselves with that. But that's trial and error. But at the end of the day, anything that can inject a little bit of cash and a little bit more playability into a game that's worth it, people will pay for it. Especially, like you said, the communities that sprout up around these video games are so important. And it's not just the friend that you play with. It's the videos on YouTube. It's the culture that builds out of it. It's the merchandise. These games now are more like movies, where they are creating fans out of the experience, and it's the shared experience.
Yeah.
So it's also a chance to show off. It's always keeping up with the Johnsons. It's like the neighbor down the road's got a nicer car, so I got to get the Ferrari over here. It's that idea. and it's on a smaller level, but it is very much showing off your Nikes in a lot of ways. I got these Air Swish or whatever they're called. You know what I mean? So it's always going to play on vanity in a way, and also FOMO. The fear of missing out is huge. Also, customizability. People want to be able to customize their shit to be unique, like you kept saying about the camo earlier.
Yeah, man. When they set that out and gave it to everyone for free, it was meaningless to me.
Right.
That was just one less camo that I wouldn't use as often anymore. I'd stick to my weaponized 115 or cyborg camos because your average Joe Schmo would not have it. And that's where some of these microtransactions and stuff really shine, is you have to do certain things to get these camos. You got your challenge stuff that you can get in game, but you also got this that you can pay for that, not everyone's going to pay for. You have this that you had to find and get lucky out of a loot box that not everyone's going to get lucky and get it for that gun, if even at all. There are pros to this, as well as funding developers to keep adding new stuff to the game that lets you have more and more unique characters and customizability and keep the game alive.
Right, because initially what you would get is you get an Angry Birds, and then once people were done playing Angry Birds, you get Angry Birds 2. And that's what Fortnite, you would have Fortnite, and they would have Fortnite 2 by now. But instead of having a 2, they've just kept it alive. They've kept it on life support, and it's boomed off of it. So a sequel would always just be the first one, but a little bit better at stuff here and there. They don't require a sequel anymore, unless they really just need to restart and then start this whole process over again. We're going to see that a lot and a lot more. But is it bad, Ethan? No, it's new. That's all there is to it. And
it's just got to level out.
Yep.
I think that's it.
And for me personally, I'm the Atari of this duo here, so I don't have to worry about it. You are the Steam of this duo here, so
this is all me, man.
It really does affect you more. So,
and the last little thing I want to touch on, there is the other extreme of that, where you run the risk of, if you lean too much into free updates and free stuff like that, it loses its value. This is actually out of EA. They got slapped on the wrist real hard after Battlefront 2, and that scared them from doing any sort of loot boxes and shit for a long time. And I mean, they still had it there, but it wasn't near as egregious. But their latest Battlefield title, Battlefield 5, which was a World War II shooter, that game should have easily been a multi-year, 4 or 5 year game as a service product that should have made them millions off of microtransactions alone. Because I firmly believe they had a good idea with that game, even though I didn't really like the gameplay. Now, what it was, it's World War II. They tell these stories through campaign. They have maps to start out with, your basic shooter stuff. Everyone buys the game, loves it, and then there's free content updates, just like any other game nowadays. But they were doing it in seasons, which they called the Tides of War. So they would go through World War II by season of what was going on. And so you started with them going through the Pacific theater of war, where the U.S. was fighting the Japanese, and all the maps and stories and stuff they would add to the game were based on that. And then you'd go to the next one where suddenly you're in the African theater. You're fighting the Italians and the Nazis and, all this stuff. And they made it as far as season 6, which was supposed to be right before they were going into the European theater of war, the one that everyone really wants to get to. And the game is now being discontinued. Granted, it was due to other issues, not necessarily their microtransactions and whatnot, but it is very, very important, and I don't think enough developers realize this. They're just solely locked into the microtransaction money. They're blinded by the amount of cash they could potentially make, that they don't ensure their product is great upon launch. And Battlefield 5 suffered from one of the worst launches I have seen in a very long time. That was because people that were working on the game said some mean shit, because people that saw the game said some mean shit, and they took a very whimsical approach to World War II. And instead of saying, oh, you guys are right, this is kind of crazy and very far-fetched, but it could be fun, they instead were pointing fingers and saying, well, this is our game. If you don't like it, you can fuck off. And let me tell you this, those people fucked right off.
Yeah.
And Battlefield 5 was a commercial flop.
You got to be cautious of your audience and what they're willing to accept and what they want too. Like who
the
you
only
speak
reason
to.
your microtransactions will fund your game, that you will be able to keep putting out free content and new stuff and keep them coming back and start this cycle, is if you get them interested in the first place and you respect them as a player. I'm not saying you have to do every little thing that they want. Like, I don't think Battlefield 5 should have gone and suddenly shifted more serious. Granted, that's what I personally would have liked, but it's not the game they made. You know, everyone can have their own interpretation of World War II as long as it's a good game. Where they fucked up was letting their fucking creative director or whoever the fuck he was say, well, my game is PC and y'all can just piss off. You have to have a level of respect, and if your product does not do well at launch, you can't start this cycle.
This is just what we're going to do now. This is our marketing. This is how we're going to make our money back. The audience isn't there. No one's going to buy anyhow. Yeah. So respect your audience. So we respect our audience, and we appreciate you listening.
Duck, what would you rate our audience?
I would rate our audience a fucking hardcore. I'm not going to suck these motherfuckers' dicks. You're a bunch of... No, I'm just kidding.
That's a hard B.
No. I love our audience. If you're listening, we appreciate it.
You are definitely an S rank.
Y'all are S rank, and we will suck your dick. S stands for us sucking our audience's dicks. Just so
absolutely.
We appreciate you checking it out. This has been Duck, and I have been here with...
Dr. E.
Guys, I got to tell you this. As much as we will suck your dicks, there's one person who will never suck your dick.
Never. Not
no
once.
Chance in hell of this.
Never gonna happen.
Beautiful man. Mullet laden gentleman.
My boy.
The one and only. Listen, you can't be him. You never will be, because guess what? You ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch.
You ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch.
You ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch. So stop trying.
Just stop trying. Just stop.
And there it is. Thank you so much again for listening today. We really do appreciate it. If this is your first time, go over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Podbean. Give us a like. And if you enjoyed this podcast, you're going to love the other ones on the We Are Podcast Network. We have We Are Error, where we talk movies, entertainment, whatever the fuck we want to talk about. That's me, that's Jake, that's Javi. We're breaking down pop culture, and we're having a blast. Also, Heroes Gyros, a Dungeons and Distractions side quest. Me and the boys were playing some D&D, and we're having so much fun. And the newest podcast on the channel, I Hate Being Sober. Personal stories from epic people. That is an interview podcast where I sit down with some of my favorite people on the planet. We talk about their life, we talk about their trials and tribulations, and we just talk about whatever we want to talk about. Don't forget to head on over to our social media and give us a like. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, /WeArePodcast. And if you like this podcast today, share it with your friends. Please let other people know that we exist so that we can grow this channel. We really do appreciate you checking it out, but I need you to remember one thing. You can never forget this. You ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch. So you gotta stop trying. Just stop.